Lawyers, what's the worst case of you should have mentioned this sooner you've experienced? It was my first hearing as an attorney, Social Security disability appeal. I'd gone through law school, passed the bar, and somehow landed a position that threw me into court almost immediately. I was nervous, sure, but I was prepared. I knew this case inside and out. My client had been crushed at work. An entire section of heavy machinery came down on him. Shoulder, ribs, leg, all messed up. He walked with a cane, had a noticeable limp, and needed help getting in and out of his truck. He also had PTSD. His dad had shot himself in front of him when he was a kid. On paper, he was exactly the kind of person these benefits were for. Severe physical limitations, long-standing mental health struggles, unable to maintain steady employment despite years of trying. We'd gone over his medical records, prepped for the questions he might be asked. I'd gone through all the filings, spoken to his doctors. Everything was lined up. His file was thick enough to crush a small animal. I was ready. What I wasn't ready for was the judge. The judge we got assigned had a reputation. Old school, mean-spirited, loud. I'd heard horror stories about him barking at attorneys in the middle of hearings, berating applicants, accusing people of faking injuries. But rules are rules. You don't pick your judge. You show up, you do the job. It started normal. I introduced myself, went through the standard procedure, and launched into my opening statement. 3 sentences in, listing off the injuries, compound fractures, nerve damage, limited range of motion, the judge slammed his hand on the table and cut me off. "You forgot one!" he barked. "What about the drug abuse disorder? When was the last time your client did heroin?" I froze. Not out of fear, not out of confusion, but because this was news to me. There was no mention of heroin use in any of the files I had. Nothing in his disclosures, nothing in his med records, nothing in our prep conversations. I slowly turned and looked at my client, who avoided eye contact like his life depended on it. I took a second. I could feel every eye in the room on me. My heart was hammering. Then, I turned back to the judge and said calmly and clearly, "Your Honor, I didn't mention that. Similar to how I didn't mention his pre-diabetes and seasonal allergies. It isn't relevant to his ability to work as he hasn't abused drugs in several years. Additionally, he admitted that he used drugs to cope with his mental health disorders, which he has taken much better control over since he began counseling." The judge stared at me. Then he leaned back in his chair and waved a hand. "Proceed." The rest of the hearing was tense, but not a disaster. My client answered everything correctly. The vocational expert ended up agreeing that, given his limitations, there were no jobs in the national economy he could reasonably perform. I walked out of that room feeling like I had just defused a bomb. My first hearing, surprise heroin accusation, and somehow, I stuck the landing. 2 weeks later, I got the decision, fully favorable. He'd won. I was proud of that. I'd worked hard on that case. I knew it wasn't going to change the world, but it mattered. It meant his medical expenses were going to be covered. He'd get back pay, some stability for once. I called to give him the news. His girlfriend answered. "Oh," she said. "Yeah, he's not home." I told her I had important legal news, and could she pass it along? She sighed. "He can't take calls right now. He's in jail." I blinked. "What?" "Yeah, he stole a car last week. Got picked up the same day. He's looking at 3 years minimum. He's already been arraigned." I didn't even know what to say. I think I muttered something like, "Okay, thank you," and hung up. I looked at my notes. The timeline matched. He'd won his benefits the same week he got arrested for grand theft auto. The part that stuck with me was that he never told me. Not during prep. Not even afterward. Nothing. Just left me to get ambushed in court and then called it a day. That hearing stayed with me for a long time. I kept a printed copy of the judge's outburst in a file. "What about the drug abuse disorder?" in all caps, underlined by the court reporter. First hearing, first win, first time realizing your client can burn your entire case down without saying a word.